You're listening to Conquering Retirement with Annuity FY. Real strategies, real stories, no sales pitch. Join Tom Hamlin and his expert guests so that you can make smarter moves faster. Hit that subscribe button and let's conquer retirement together.
Annuity FY podcast, starting out with Tom's Tunes. And this is Annuity FYI. Good morning. Sounds like the Beach Boys.
It's Creedence Clearwater, homie.
This is CCR?
Homie.
You need a better mic. I'm blaming your mic. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Tom's Tunes with Annuity FYI. Hope everyone's having a great morning.
Welcome back, everybody, for another edition of Conquering Retirement with Annuity FY, brought to you by The Hub, Annuity FY, that is. I have Tom Hamlin here today, and his guest, Brian Hamlin. We call them Hammy 1 and Hammy 2.
Hey.
Again, just to familiarize everybody with Tom, he's been in the industry for 35 yees. He specializes in all things S with 2 vertical lines down the middle. That is everything from real estate to annuities and everything in between. And then, Brian is also in the industry. He's we work with each other every day. So it's great to have you here, Brian. And, the other day, Tom and I were on the phone with a potential client. And one of the questions that we often get asked, that this person asked, is how do I outlive my retirement? How do I not outlive my retirement? Excuse me. Yeah, that's it. The first one was an easy one.
The first one's easy.
There you go.
There's
really
so many
easy.
ways for that one. But the second one is significantly harder. But I actually think it might be quite easy if you have the right tools and you have the right people in your life, which is why, it's great to have you guys here to be those people. So, Tom, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Meg.
Yep.
And good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
All righty. So, yes, that is what they used to call the $64,000 question, but now it doesn't have the same impact as it used to with inflation factored in. More like the $64 million question. So, how do I not outlive my retirement? The worst thing that can happen to someone's investment portfolio is not what you would think. It's not the stock market risk. It's not other types of risk, investment risk. It is inflation. Inflation erodes your investment portfolio and your retirement nest egg like nothing else. So you have to stay ahead of inflation, and everything above inflation is what you have to spend. So, in other words, if inflation is at 3%, you need 7% just to enjoy 4%. Okay? And that 4% is on $1 million, that's $40,000. And that $40,000 is usually pre-tax. So most people have no idea just how much money they need to get retired. Then the larger challenge is, once you are retired, how do you stay retired? And these are all mantras of mine and goals of mine to not only get our clients retired sooner, but to keep them retired longer. And people will live longer when they have less stress. They say that heart and lung disease is the greatest killer in our country, and sure, there's other things nowadays, but it's really stress. Everything is attributable to stress. So if you can reduce your stress, you can live longer. And the most stressful thing in most people's lives is financial insecurity. The fear of not having enough to live off of, the fear of not being able to pay your bills and meet your obligations. That is the greatest stressor for every family, irrespective of, other than a significant health challenge, okay? And those are typically not long-lived. Financial insecurity typically lasts longer. And So the goal is to have peace of mind through financial independence. And if you have that peace of mind, you have lower stress and you're apt to live longer. So how do you not outlive your retirement income? Obviously, we're pro annuity. We know that if we invest your money in a fixed indexed annuity today, we know that we can get you, if you're 70, we just ran the quote yesterday for our clients, and 72-year-old and a 73-year-old, guaranteed joint lifetime income, deferring for a year, they can receive, now what was that number? On 500, it was
178.
160.
I'm glad you guys got it, because if I didn't hear the number, I would have been disappointed.
Yeah,
After
no, it was 42, 180. So, you do the math on that, just double that number and it tells you the rate. That's 8.4% guaranteed for life. There's no hedge against inflation there, but we can give you your hedge against inflation by investing in equities elsewhere.
Exactly.
And so annuities bring peace of mind into the equation. It's interesting because we're fee-based wealth managers, fiduciaries, all of that as well. We have Somerset Wealth Management, our fee-based fiduciary arm, and we do a lot of that business. But it's just so interesting that it's back to basics. It's stocks and bonds. It's equity. It's debt. And then, you blend these things together and you charge a fee. And because nobody works for free. But it's so hard to beat the S&P 500. And we have ways now with annuities that we can beat the S&P 500. And we can do it with less risk. We also have ways that we can equal the S&P 500 and take significantly less risk. And that's great for people that have a very, or not a very low, but a much lower risk tolerance. Because most people can't handle the risk. But they need to. And so by putting your money into a combination of what they call RILAs, registered index linked annuities these days, and fixed indexed annuities with guaranteed lifetime income provisions, and with fixed indexed annuities that are more like the bond. There's a great study by Roger Ibbotson. He's a legend in the research industry, and his company Zebra, they did a white paper. They show that fixed indexed annuities outperform bonds for 95 years in a row. That's compelling. And so most people aren't being shown these opportunities because it doesn't fit into the fee-based wealth management fluid liquidity box where you can charge an ongoing fee for those services. And so they shun it. And they actually sell against it. And I'd like to believe that we're more objective than most because we not only do the fee-based wealth management, we have the fixed company, and we also have the broker-dealer.
Well, if I could interject here, because the Ibbotson paper is great. We're happy to send that to anyone, by the way. But one of the arguments for it is that, someone might say, well, Brian or Tom, this Ibbotson paper came out when interest rates were a lot lower, and now they're a lot higher. So how does this impact the kind of thesis of the paper that bonds outperform annuities with a very similar risk profile, which is essentially what Ibbotson was getting at? And, when you do some kind of diving into it, if anything, it may even reinforce the thesis of the paper. And that's simply because bonds remain volatile due to interest rate shifts, while something like an annuity is getting a higher rate, a higher cap rate, whatever it may be, better upside potential, while assuming the same amount of risk that you did in a lower interest rate environment, because it's still working off the premise that that insurance company is guaranteeing the protection of your principal. Obviously, the guarantee is only as strong as the company that's making it. But that's just something I thought of with the Ibbotson paper.
They say it goes back 95 years. And the on a fixed indexed annuity, the majority of the money is invested in bonds anyway. And the same thing for all the general accounts with every insurance company. The majority is invested in investment grade bonds. But I do hear what you're saying. The article from the Wall Street Journal in '99, interest rates were significantly higher. Peter Lynch used to say, if you don't have 10 years to stay in the market, stay in the money market. Yeah. But that's when interest rates were 7 or 8% on money market accounts. And that was a lot more compelling. I remember the Dreyfus Worldwide Dollar Fund was my first money market account, like outside of the normal bank or whatever. And I read about it in Money Magazine, many, many, many moons ago, 1980s. And the rate on that was 8-point-something% back then. It was, just that's where rates were.
I wish.
Today, they're about half that, but that's about 800 times what they were back in 2021 when money markets were at 0.1. Maybe you could find a rare one at 0.25, but you were capped on how much you could put in it. So, but the interesting thing about that Wall Street Journal article is interest rates were very high back then, and it still said you could only take out 4% and adjust it for inflation every year. And that's if you had a 25-year life expectancy, and that you still only had an 80% chance of success. That's frightening. And so yet people stay this course, and it's the definition of insanity in my opinion, because they go down this path and then they expect a different outcome. And outliving your retirement income is very real, but nothing again will make you sicker quicker than not being able to pay your bills. And so, maybe that's why people die before their money runs out, because they're so freaking stressed that they run out of money. Or pardon me, they die before they run out of money.
Yeah, so I think that you guys have made some great points. What I heard, just what, the bullet points in my mind are diversified portfolio, whether that is a combination of equities and bonds and annuities, or different types of annuities. Like Tom, you mentioned the RILAs, the fixed indexed annuities for either growth or income, and MIGAs, multi-year guaranteed annuities, which are those fixed rate annuities. And yeah, just having a kind of a bucket for the money that you want to put to work for your income, your stabilized income, and then the other one, your equity bucket for, as a hedge against inflation for growth. Does that sum it up?
Yeah, that does a good job, Meg. It's not just stocks and bonds and cash. It's not just fee-based wealth management. In order to be able to make it through retirement without outliving your retirement income and your nest egg, you really should employ annuities, because outside of the federal government, it's the only other time that we can use the word guarantee. You have the federal government and government agency obligations like Freddie and Fannie and Sally and Jenny and FDIC, and then you have annuities, and you have, with the government, you have the backstop of the government. They'll just print more money. It's, that incredible printing press, printing digital money these days. And then you have, with the insurance companies, you have the state guarantee funds and the underlying claims paying ability of the insurance company in front of that. The backstop is the state guarantee fund if worse comes to worse. But we could use the word guarantee with those, and you can't with any other investment. Even a money market from Vanguard or Fidelity or whomever, there's a prospectus to say you could lose money. So I would just encourage those looking to retire, if you're certainly within 10 years of retirement, but hopefully sooner, especially with RILAs and things like that, you need to weave annuities into your overall game plan. So it's not just the traditional stocks, bonds, and cash. It's stocks, bonds, cash, annuities, and you mentioned real estate earlier. I would throw real estate in there for sure. So there you have it.
Great. Well, again, I appreciate you guys for being here. Pardon me. I look forward to you guys answering more questions each time. And yeah, have a great day, guys. Thanks so much.
What a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks.
That's a wrap on this episode of Conquering Retirement with Annuity FY. Ready to take control of your future? Call 1-866-223-2121 to speak with one of the guests on our show and get your questions answered today. Visit annuityfy.com for more information and to contact us online. Follow the show and make sure to turn on notifications so that you'll never miss a tip, strategy, or breakthrough moment.